Hello and welcome here as we are back for the SRL TCR League here for season number 10. We head around the fabulous Mugello circuit in the Italian countryside for round number 6 of this 10-round championship. We are now officially halfway completed as we enter this round of competition. And what an amazing circuit it is to kick off the second half of this season. Then, of course, a great calendar all around, 10 rounds, of course, for this championship. And as we head across into the second half of the season, we head around Mugello here tonight for round number 6. We head out to the touring car capital, Brands Hatch GP, for round number 7 next week on February 27th. And then we head across to Catalonia on a date that is completely incorrect there. It's not going to be April the 12th. It will be on March the 8th. For that one. Apologies for an error on our calendar there. We then head across to Road America for round number 10 on March 13th. And we finish off the championship at round number 10, Hungaroring, which was obviously postponed for what was originally supposed to be round number 5. It's now round number 10 at the end of the season. It is going to be an interesting circuit for the championship fight, that is for sure. Now, as the drivers head down onto the Mugello circuit today, this is what we are expecting. The hour-long practice session is about 15 minutes away from ending here as we bring you all of our pre-race show. We then head into our 15-minute open qualifying session where all drivers are going to be heading down onto the circuit at the same time. Race number 1, we're going to see 20 minutes on the board, the grid set by the qualifying results. Race number 2, a little bit different, 25 minutes on the board, the top 15 from race number 1. Well, they're going to be flipped around, and our 15th position finisher is going to start in first for that second race, the longer race of the day, of course, meaning that drivers who are involved in that invert, our race winner, our front podium sitters from race number 1, will have a little bit more time to work their way through the field in the second race of the day. It's going to be a great one. Talking about the championship fight then, we do need to have a little bit of a look at each of the championships as I welcome you to the commentary booth for the first time here this evening as we are live, of course, on Joseph Wright Broadcasting and on SRLTV. So if you're watching the SRLTV broadcast over on YouTube, make sure that you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so that you're notified when we go live, not just for these fabulous Friday races, but of course any of the POV streams that occasionally occur over there as well. Make sure you hit that thumbs up on the stream as well to show your support. And if you're watching over on the Joseph Wright Broadcasting channel over on Twitch, then make sure you've hit that follow button if you haven't done so already, so that you're notified when we go live. Again, not just for the Friday night SRL TCR League, but also any of the other broadcasts that we do as well. Of course, touring cars being quite a staple on the channel, so if you like them, make sure you're hitting that follow button. Now then, we are going to be getting in to a world of competition going into the second half of this season. Obviously, the first half of this season it's been completed. We're almost going to have those drop weeks applied where the drivers' two worst results for an entire weekend are going to be dropped. What that does mean is our current Pro Championship, which is significantly far open, is going to come back down again. We saw this last season, of course. It was Dan Mould in lead of the championship in season number 9, and those drop weeks allowed the chasing pack to catch back up again. We expect the same again this season because Adam Delmont, who is leading the Pro Championship, has had an astonishingly strong season so far. A couple of issues throughout, no doubt, but he has taken 5 class victories in what has been 10 races. So I think that just tells you already how dominant he has been. The only other pro driver to have taken more than 1 victory so far this season is Jack Bolton. Of course, Bolton stepping back from the championship after Long Beach. So it means that of our active drivers, Delmont is the only repeat winner in that pro class. The other classes, however, extremely close, especially the AM Championship. And we'll get down onto that one in just a moment's time. Before we do, though, let's have a look at the other championships because they are going very, very well for a number of drivers. Our Pro Championships then, Adam Delmont is leading that championship, as I previously mentioned, by a dominant margin. 133 points separates him. And second place, Kim Borkland. But those drop weeks are going to be applied soon. That's going to allow the chasing back of Borkland, Lyon even, to get back up there. Now, are the other drivers a bit too far back to fight for a championship? Potentially. Luciano Espinera sitting in 4th in the Pro Championship. Of course, Espinera taking his first win of the season in VIR with the inverted grid, and a very dominant win for him in that one. Dan Mould, he's dropped down to 5th in the championship, but he was not able to compete last week due to an injury. He is back out there today, though, and he's running around in 6th place in the session right now, the 4th and slowest pro driver in the session as it stands, of those that have put in lap times. Of course, Luciano Espinera took that win last week because he was unable to unable to get in to qualifying and set a lap time, which meant that he had to work his way through the field in race number 1. He got the inverted grid, which put him up towards the front, and he just pulled away in that one. Is he going to go for a similar strategy today? Try and get the inverted win in race number 2? Who knows? Logan McKenzie sits 6th in the championship at the moment in the pros, as say Jack Bolton stepping down, but he is sitting 7th right now ahead of Jaden Scott, and 10 points separate them. Arthur Thirdle sits in 9th position and is in the session again today, so it's nice to see Thirdle racing out there once more. And Anthony Lammer rounds out your top 10 in the Pro Championship, and Declan Marsden yet to get down onto the track this season. Over in your semi-pros, and it is Kev Aylett who is leading that championship in a much closer margin. It is only 9 points separating Kev Aylett and the previous semi-pro leader, Daniel Downing. Remember, this is the championship that is new this season. The semi-pro class is an additional class that has been added for season number 10 because of how huge the Pro-Am field was last season. They decided to split the Pro-Ams into 2 classes. The semi-pros, which are the step up from Pro-Ams, the step down from pros, and then your Pro-Ams, which are still just a step above the amateurs. Stephen Fry is sitting 3rd right now, 5 points clear of Carl Hardy in 3rd and 4th position respectively. And Daniel Lewis just a singular point ahead of Mark Draper and Det Crowther, who sit in 6th and 7th position. And they're 314, 313 and 313 points respectively. John Brown is sitting in 8th position right now with 306 points to his name. Andrew Lovesey in 9th, and Tom Woodcock rounds out the top 10 in the semi-pro standings. Everyone in semi-pros have obviously visited the track at least once this season. Ronald de Jong sits 11th in the championship right now ahead of Marhan Kodeman, and Jay Cooley sits in 13th position. So a very tight fight at the top of your semi-pro championship. In your Pro-Am championship, just a little bit more of a leeway for our championship leader, Demis Titchler. 389 points to his name. He has a 20-point advantage over Jack Brown, who sits in 2nd. Unfortunately for Jack, he is not able to race here today, which means that that is going to allow Titchler to move a little bit further forward, who is in the session today. Fraser Geraghty has opportunities to close down the points potentially to Jack as well, but it is going to open up the championship standings for now. Don't forget, though, we still have the drop weeks to be applied. That is going to help Jack Brown. Fraser Geraghty, as I say, sitting in 3rd position right now, ahead of Gonzalo Rivera, who sits in 4th. And Paul Hurley rounds out the top 5 in the Pro-Am Championship. Alan McCain sits in 6th ahead of JB Dejay. Dejay having a slightly tricky start to the season in the first half. We all remember the accident, of course, at Summit Point, in which he was spun around and sent literally flying on the opening lap of race number 1. Lucas Henschel sits in 8th position, 10 points behind, and Luke Woodhouse sits in 9th, and it is Craig Walters who rounds out the top 10 in the Pro-Am Championship. We then see Stuart Gibbons in 11th position, 9 points clear of Kevin Marshallsay, and James Colden yet to head to the track in the Pro-Ams. Now, if you think any of those championships were tight and they were close, well, you haven't looked at the AMs yet. It is officially, not on our standings, because our standings go by points, not by countback. Torburn Male is officially leading the amateur class with 266 points. The same amount of points as Vigard Olsen Leah. The two teammates have had an absolutely dominant run so far this season as we keep on getting through. They are finding themselves constantly at the front of the field, with both Male and Leah having 2 wins apiece in class. It's not just those two that are close, though, because Jeff Saunders, who has been leading the championship for a number of races along with Thomas Coombe, sits just 2 points back with 264 points. Coombe himself is sitting all the way back on 238 points with some issues for him in recent races. But those top 3 drivers are separated by just 2 points, and it is the 2 teammates tied at the top. The countback going the way of Torburn Male. Ben Gibbons sits in 5th position ahead of Scott Malcolm in this championship. Chris London is in 7th, just a few points behind Malcolm. Andy Littler sits in 8th position, Yannick Van Reenen in 9th, and Chesney Vandenbroek rounding out the top 10. Of course, Malcolm taking a significant boost last week. He took his first class victory in race number 1, where we went bowling at turn number 1 with your 3 podium sitters, your 3 podium runners in race number 1 in the amateur class, where they all went off at turn number 1. It was an inherited race lead for Scott Malcolm, and he was able to hold on to it and take that into a race victory, of course. And then the rest of the amateur class, you have Aaron Matthews getting out for the first time at VII. He's got 46 points to his name. We see him back out there again today. James Brown heading out with 38 points to his name. And then we are yet to see Nathan Hardcastle onto the track. We have seen now most of the field heading down onto the track at some point this season, and it is bound to be another great evening of racing again today. 26 cars are ready to go into qualifying, which is in just a few moments' time. Now, for the first time this season, we are going to have a look on stream, finally, at the Teams Championship. So let's have a look here. Hello, I'm over in the corner now at the Teams Championship here for round number 6. Well, out of round number 5 and heading into round number 6. And as you can see there, it is an extremely dominant championship lead right now for Next Gen Racing Green. They have got 1,043 points. Don't forget, they are waiting for the drop week supplied, and Adam Delmont and Jack Brown, who are racing in Next Gen Racing Green, obviously have had some very good results throughout this season. It is Sim Racing Forces Norway who is holding on to 2nd position, and it is a close fight for 2nd position. Borkland and de Jong just fighting off by 19 points the SRL Rosso team, spearheaded by Dan Mould, supported by Stephen Fry. They have been pulling that SRL outfit all the way into the top 3. However, they are only 10 points clear of our original team leaders all the way back after round number 1, Byte 500. They sit on 721 points. We then have the next of the SRL outfits, and SSRL Purple coming in 5th position. That's supported obviously with Daniel Downing and Mark Draper in that one. And then the first of the JAS outfits, it's a Jassy sports car, 663 points to their name in 6th. Once again, another SRL team out there. It's SRL Green with 620 points for John Brown and Daniel Lewis. They sit in 7th position. And then Altitude originally was just Arthur Thurtle, but it was supported then by Andrew Lovesey, who joined the team. And that is they are sitting in 8th position right now. But both drivers have missed a number of races. The drop weeks are going to seriously help them. Sim Racing Norway, amateur endurance team. That is, of course, our championship leaders in our amateur field, Vigard Olsen Leah and Torben Male. They have pulled their team all the way up to 9th position in the standings, which I think for an outfit that is both amateur drivers is an astonishing position to be in with 532 points. And Hydro Racing Forces are the Hydro Race Racing Forces, sorry, are then rounding out your top 10 of the racing teams there. That's Demis Titchler and Yannick Van Reenen. They have 468 points, just 1 point clear of JC Academy Emerald, the first of the JC teams. As you can see on the left-hand side, it goes all the way down to the bottom of the field there, so you can see all of those standings. But in the background, qualifying has just begun. So we are going to move away from talking about championship standings. We're going to move away from looking at my wonderful face, and we are going to instead head down onto the track here as we are going to be watching the qualifying session around the Mugello circuit. For the first time, we're going to have a little bit of a look at this track. Now, an amazingly flowing circuit, of course, very well known in MotoGP. It was picked up during the COVID era of Formula One as well, and we saw a great race around here. Some obviously not so great restarts. We don't have to worry about that in this series, of course. Drivers will just be getting on a standing start and then seeing what they can do from there. We watch John Brown here. He sits in the semi-pro field in the 4 classes. Again, if you are new around here, we have our pros, semi-pros, pro-ams, and ams out there for this one. And we are going to ride on board with John Brown here as we are going to go for a lap of the Mugello circuit. We head out of the final turn and up towards the timing line around what is a very brilliant track, that is for sure. It is a circuit that it just invites overtaking, it invites battling, it invites side-by-side running. Up towards San Donato then of turn number 1, you get all the way to the left-hand side, then swing it heavy on the brakes and turn it in through turn number 1. The first of the large chicanes here. We go through Luco to the left-hand side, across to Poggio Secco on turn number 3. Again, trying to get over that curbing, push it onto that turf. That's absolutely fine. Brown here getting the toe there. I believe that's Torburn Mail just sat in front of him. No, that is Borkland sitting in front of him on the track. Right, that was through turn 4 of Materassi and 5 of Borgo San Lorenzo. And now the flowing downhill section. Casanova of 6. Turn across to the left of Savelli. Turn number 7. You don't want to push it too far wide there and get on off track. That was not an off track for John Brown. He was very close to the gravel though as he heads through Aribatia of turn number 8 and now through Aribatia 2 of turn number 9. Again, full throttle here, and then you're about to slam on the brakes for our third large chicane. Scaperia, turn to the right of turn 10, into the left of Palagio of turn number 11. A little bit late on the throttle there for Brown, but that's going to be that's going to be Borkland backing out, and that's going to be Brown backing out as we go through Coranteo of turn number 12. Brown giving up on his lap. We'll have a little bit of a look at the end of the lap though, so we can see what it's like. The fast left-right of Biondetti 1, Biondetti 2 of 13 and 14, and now up towards Buttini of turn number 15. Stick it all the way to the right-hand side. You're going to get it to that apex on the left, but Brown just letting, I believe that was Arthur Thurtle, just by through the final corner there. It was, in fact, Arthur Thurtle going by there, and we are about to see some of our first lap times go on the board as drivers cross the timing line, but obviously a number of them backing out of their lap times as well. And invalidating their lap times, just issues for some of the drivers as they come across. On the left-hand side there, you can see those colours. If you are new around here and you've not spotted any of these races before, those colours are going to help you indicate which class each of our drivers are going to be in. If they've got that blue background, they are in the pro class. If they've got that green background, they're in the semi-pro. The purple, and they are in the pro-ams, and the reds, and they are in the amateur field right now as we watch Torburn Mail. He comes across line. He's currently 11th position overall in this one, second in class behind Ben Gibbons, but looking to see if he can find a little bit more time in his 8-4-2 machine as he comes out of Poggio Secco and up towards Matasari of turn number 4. Again, just drivers finding their way around this track. It is a very flowing track, but it is easy to pick up an off track around here. That is for certain, because this track has a lot of gravel traps right by the edge of the track. You don't have the runoff that you do on other circuits, which I think is why this is such a brilliant track. These touring cars are going to go well around here. We see it. We saw it similarly at the Jerez circuit, of course. We saw drivers having to contend with the gravel right on the edge of the circuit. This is Ben Gibbons. He runs around right now, the fastest of the amateur drivers. He sits in 11th position overall right now as he heads through the left-right of Scaperia and Pelagio, turn 10 and 11, and in through the final sector now of Corenteo. Turn number 12, we ride on board for the end of his lap. Can he find any more time on his lap right now? He is now the second fastest in class, because Thomas Kuhn has put a great lap in. It's still 1.5 seconds off of the lead pace, though, as drivers are out there at the moment just seeing if they can find any time at all around this circuit. Those opening laps, of course, a lot of drivers jumping out of the way, invalidating times as they came around the lap. We watch Gibbons here come up towards the timing line. Is it going to be an improvement on what was a 2:01? It was a great improvement there from Ben Gibbons. It was a 2:01.5. He went a 2:01.2, so he does move back past Torban Mail, but untouchable in that AMA class at the moment is Thomas Coombs, racing for the JC Academy car, of course, and looking to see what he can do right now in this session. Luciano Espinera started last week. Started last week at the back of the field in race number 1, of course, after not being able to set a qualifying lap. He wasn't quite in time, but he did manage to work his way up to 15th position in race number 1. It gave him, up into the top 15 for race number 1. It gave him a great position in the invert, and he went on to win the race, his first win of the season, of course. Now, fastest driver out there at the moment is Arthur Thurtle. He'll be looking to put in a great little lap time right now, because he is yet to take a pole position this season. In fact, of our drivers, there have been 4 drivers who have been able to place pole position in the books. That was Jack Bolton at the beginning of the season, rounds 1 and 2. It was then Dan Mould at Long Beach, Anthony Lammer at Summit Point, and Kim Portland at VIR. Adam Delmont goes purple right now, and he has taken 5 race victories this season, but Delmont is yet to take a pole position this season. He's yet to start a race from the very front of the field, but he shows he doesn't need to be at the front of the field to find his way to the front by the end of the races. And it's not just been race number 2, the inverts, where Adam Delmont has shone. In fact, of all the races, Adam Delmont has only taken overall race victory in the first race of the day. At Summit Point, he did take the pro class victory, of course, in race number 2. He took the overall victory in race number 1 as well. But in race number 2, it wasn't an overall pro winner. Stephen Fry of the semi-pro class ended up winning the overall race in that invert. It is the only time so far this season a pro driver has not won the overall race. So it'd be interesting to see what he is able to do as we watch Adam Delmont continue around a lap of the Mugello circuit, as we do get a couple of extra drivers stepping in towards the end of this session to make sure that we have as many as possible contending. 27 drivers preparing to go racing here for race number 1. Of course, 20 minutes is going to be on the board for that one. If you haven't caught any of the races so far, then where have you been? First of all, make sure you hit the follow button here on Twitch or the subscribe button over on YouTube. That way you won't miss any more of these races that start at 9:15 in the evening GMT. Also, make sure you head across to the Joseph Wright Broadcast broadcasting YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/@JosephWrightTV. And you can check out all of the race highlights for the first half of this season, which are readily available over there, allowing the content to be readily digested in time for the next week of racing. When we head out again for round number 7 next time, which will be next Friday, of course. Lucas Henschel has been able to put a lap time on the board. He is currently the slowest of those that has got a lap time, but it is tricky to get your valid laps in around this circuit, saying it's so easy to push it off. And to try and keep it on the track as well is also extremely easy to back out just a little bit too much, give up just a bit too much time out there. Now, Thomas Kuhn was leading the amateur field in qualifying. Vegard Olsen-Lear is hunting to be the first driver in the amateur class to take 3 victories this season. Thomas Kuhn would be looking to do the same, in fact, and Ben Gibbons there, running in 3rd in class right now, would be looking for his 2nd win in class this season. As our list of winners keeps on growing, and I think that's just absolutely excellent to see as well. It's not the same drivers always at the front across these classes, is different drivers making their way through. But of course, the championship standings are determined by the overall race results, which means that if Vegard Olsen-Lear was to take 12th position in race number 1, but Chris London was to win in class in race number 2, but took 20th position to take that victory, well, Vegard Olsen-Lear would still walk away with more points to his name, because they do take their championship points by those overall race positions instead of by their class positions. Of course, the 4 separate class championships are what you're looking at, including who's winning each of the classes, but it is the points taken from overall race results, which means Vegard Olsen-Lear right now sitting in 12th would be a great result. Top 15 would be reversed as well, so if those 2 AMs were to finish inside that invert for race number 2, they'd find themselves towards the front. The last time we saw that, Vegard Olsen-Lear managed to hold on to quite a strong lead ahead of Jack Bolton back at Long Beach before the unfortunate contact that sent Olsen-Lear around, but you know that he's got the pace out there. He's a strong defender. Of course, this circuit, Mugello, very, very different to the circuit of Long Beach. So defending is going to be a little bit different. No walls to help you out, but you've certainly got the gravel chaps. You've got the flowing corners, trying to place your car rights out there. We watch Ronald de Jong here of Sim Racing Forces Norway. Of course, that is a combination of 2 teams for this season, from Ronald de Jong and from Kim Borkland, that have partnered up to compete. And that is, of course, Borkland's team and de Jong's team as well, that have joined together to form 21 teams on the in the championship this season to support those 50 drivers that are competing. Of course, not everyone are able to attend every single one of those races, but 27 of them out there today. Dan Mould of our pro class is yet to put in a lap time. In fact, not out as either. So Dan Mould will be starting this one from the back of the field. Of course, last week out due to an injury, so we can only hope that he will be able to find his way onto the racing track for race number 1. Qualifying almost over here then, as we watch Ronald de Jong come through turn number 15, get it to that inside apex there, push it out wide, try to keep it on the racing surface, which is does, but he dives down pit lane anyway, so it looks like it might have been picked up as an off-track. It certainly didn't show it as an off-track on mine. He may have picked one up earlier, though, backing out of that one. Kim Borkland goes on to another lap, but of course the drivers will not find enough time to compete any more of them. With that being said, and about 15 seconds left on the board here, we will prepare to look at the grid order for race number 1. And just to remind you, if you are new out there, race number 1 is going to be 20 minutes long. Our grid set by the qualifying order. We then have a quick turnaround in which we'll interview 1 or 2 of our drivers, and then we will get out for the inverted race. Race number 2, it's going to be 25 minutes, the top 15 inverted. Right then, let's have a little look at how our grid is going to line up for this one, and it will be Adam Delmont, who starts this one on pole position ahead of Arthur Thurtle. Daniel Downing will be in 3rd position, and Kim Borkland in 4th. John Brown runs around in 5th position, and Luciano Espinera takes the 6th place on the grid. Ronald de Jong will start in 7th. That is Stuart Gibbons. Daniel Lewis will start in 9th, and Vigard Olsen Liam managed to move up to 10th position on the grid in the end. Craig Walters is going to start in 11th, with JB Dejay in 12th position on the grid. And Kev Aylett will be starting 13th position. 14th will go the way of Thomas Coombe. 15th position for Carl Hardy. Fraser Garrity will start in 16th out of Demis Titchler and Kevin Marshallsay. We'll then see Dec Crowther start in 19th out of Paul Hurley. Ben Gibbons starts in 21st and Lucas Henschel in 22nd. Torburn Mayer will start this one in 23rd position with Alan McCain in 24th. 25th position will be Aaron Matthews. Chris London will start in 26th, and Dan Mould, who has made it to the grid, will start this one in 27th position after not getting a lap time on the board in the qualifying session. Right then, we are preparing to go racing for this one, and drivers will have 20 minutes on the board, which will be about 11 laps around the Mugello circuit here. So it'll be interesting to see how we get on, of course. Now, as we get ready for this one, drivers will be thinking about how to approach turn number 1. It is easy to go 3 wide, even 4 wide up towards turn number 1 here at Mugello. Is it the best idea? Certainly not. But what are we going to do? What are drivers going to be thinking here? Adam Delmont starting from pole position for the first time this season. 20 minutes on the board. And we are away along the line there, and I am afraid to say that there has just been an incident in the background. We'll cover that in a moment, but Arthur Thurtle here, side by side with Adam Delmont up towards turn number 1. Thurtle is going to try and take the lead around the outside here of turn number 1. It is going to go the way of Delmont for now. Delmont pushes his car as wide as he possibly can, make it as big as he can, and Delmont will hold on to the lead, and the opening corner of this race is still side by side behind Espinera and Brown here. Side by side, Espinera tries to keep it ahead of the semi-pro driver, and that is Borkland looking to try and get past Daniel Downing, who is leading the semi-pro field. In the background there, it is still side by side in the mid-pack here as Fraser Garrity is just holding off on Demis Titchler as well. And Garrity, in fact, trying to go side by side there with... Who is that Garrity's going side by side with? It is Kev Aylett there. Kev Aylett, he was going side by side with, and Aylett drops down the position behind Garrity in that one. Garrity now looking to attack JB Dejay here. Garrity's had a nice run at this one. Could have Aylett back at him behind, though. In fact, here comes Titchler to go up the inside there. And it is going to be side by side between Titchler and Aylett on the opening lap of this one. Up towards turn number 12 now. It's going to be to the inside for Titchler. He will hold on to 16th position at the moment as we come out of lap number 1. So, issue on the line. Dan Mould jumping the start, rolled into the back of Aaron Matthews, forcing... It looks like Matthews to have jumped the start as well, knocking him off of the line, meaning that Matthews will have to come down back pit lane for a black flag. Dan Mould is already out of this race, and then Chris London has found himself around on the opening lap of this one. This is how that happened, all on his lonesome. In the background there, a big hit out of Casanova. Right then, let's have a look at how our field is looking out of lap number 1, and it is Adam Delmont leading the way ahead of Arthur Thurtle right now. Changes for position in the midfield, and that was Gibbons going to the inside of Dejay. Dejay here trying now to get the switch back on the exit. Moves to the right-hand side. It is going to be side by side for Dejay and Gibbons. They are fighting out for second and third position in the Pro-Am field. But at the moment, it is going to go the way of Stuart Gibbons. He's going to hold on to that second place. Fraser Geraghty's just behind in fourth position in class. And so is Demis Titular. Those Pro-Ams all together there. Craig Walters just got a couple of cars between them, including two of your podium sitters in your amateur field. Olsen Leah and Thomas Coombe are out in 10th and 12th position overall right now. That is going to be some strong points if they can hold on to it as we come through. Almost 5 minutes into this race already as we head around through turn number 11 of Palagio and up towards Correnteo of turn number 12. Drivers having to stay single file for now, but we've already seen this circuit invites the side-by-side battling. That is going to be no different throughout the course of the race. In fact, the whole evening, that is for sure. As we go have a little look at Aaron Matthews here, he's found himself towards the rear of the field with that meatball flag, and it looks like he continues to have issues with the car. It looks like he's got another penalty to his name. It could potentially be the same penalty to his name there as we continue to head around and see what our drivers can do around this circuit, as Arthur Thurtle is trying to catch back up to Adam Delmont here in a fight for the lead. It is half a second between them at the moment. Thurtle has taken one race victory so far this season in comparison to Delmont's 5. The last time Thurtle was able to visit pit lane was all the way back at race number at round number 2, Motegi in race number 2. As we come up towards the end of the opening, the opening 2 laps. We're on to lap number 3 now. Thurtle is about 0.3 of a second behind. We go and jump and look at Fraser Geraghty here. Geraghty still having cars in front, behind. He's got some issues around there as we've got some issues around apparently with some of our overlays. Hopefully we'll get that one back there with our livery, with Geraghty. Now then, we look at Daniel Lewis. Lewis is chasing down Kim Borkland in this one and seeing what he could potentially do in moving through the field. At the moment, Lewis is 4th in class. He's got to get past Borkland if he wants to get to De Jong here. But of course, Borkland, De Jong, they are teammates in this one, so they could go for this one together and try to work with each other in this one, but it wouldn't benefit Kim Borkland too much. He sits 4th in class right now. He sits 7th overall. It certainly would not be the most beneficial for Borkland to just try and stay behind his teammate here. Also, of course, even though they're in separate classes, it doesn't mean that De Jong is just going to move out his way and let Borkland through, especially with the chasing Daniel Lewis not too far behind there as drivers come across the timing line here once more. And here is your train of drivers. It does extend throughout most of the field. You look on the left-hand side there aren't too many gaps that are more than a second between each of them. In fact, we might have an attempted move here, as that was Stuart Gibbons getting past second place in the amateur field, Thomas Coombe, for 12th position overall up towards turn number 1. And Coombe did not fight that too hard. He allowed Gibbons through. He's going to get some good points to his name here. He will be still trying to chase up. Coombe has not won, of course, since Motegi either. He's not won since the first race at Motegi, taking both of his race victories in the first 2 rounds of the season. In class, of course, he is looking for a potential third, especially as he's dropped down the championship order with some poor results as of late. Those drop weeks are going to come back to support him. That is for sure here as we watch Ronald de Jong potentially go for a move on John Brown. They come up through Arabieta 2, but at the moment they have to remain in single file, as that was Craig Walters just for a moment poking out on Daniel Lewis, potentially thinking here there could be a move here, there could be an opportunity to jump up the inside. That wasn't the case, unfortunately, for him at that point in time. Fraser Geraghty, though, looks like he might try and make the move on JB Dejay. Can't do it, has to sit behind, and this could be Kev Aylett trying a different line on Demis Titular ahead there. But right now, all having to remain single file. There's just not a place that they can stick their nose in just yet. They need to get a little bit closer to it. Now then, of course, Aaron Matthews had to come down pit lane to serve a penalty. He has come down pit lane. He is now only about 4 seconds up the road from Adam Delmont and Arthur Thurtle. They are sure to encounter him shortly. So hopefully he'll be able to stick it out of the way and not cause too many issues for our leading drivers in this one, as Daniel Downing just a second off of those leading 2 drivers. A big gap down then to Luciano Espinera, who leads what is this quite large train of drivers backwards, of course, as that was Kev Aylett making his move past Titular, and Crowther now trying to get himself involved potentially up towards turn number 1. He's going to have to remain behind for now, and this is how Aylett was able to make the move up to turn 1. Titular goes to the left. Kev Aylett says, I will have the inside line. Thank you very much. And with that, he moves through and takes that move into turn number 1. Very nicely done. A textbook overtake, you could say, into the first turn of the lap. Now, we are about halfway through this race already. The time is actually flying around a circuit this length, which does take 2 minutes to traverse. Genuinely, the race is just flying by. De Jong still holding behind his teammate Kim Borkland here, but he doesn't want to give up that position because he does have John Brown, who's 2nd position in the semi-pro class, just in front of him. And then you have Daniel Downing, who are currently running 3rd overall in this race. And of course, Downing is in contention with a championship here. This will be a strong result with Kev Aylett down in 16th position overall. So these points are going to be meaning everything right now, and Kev Aylett will be missing out on the invert field at the moment, with Fraser Geraghty currently in prime position to take pole position in race number 2, as that is side by side up ahead with John Brown looking to the inside of Espinera out of the final turn there. They are side by side down the pit straight up towards the timing line here. Espinera's going to have the inside. John Brown is going to be stuck on the outside here, but could it be the line that works out for him if he can just carry the speed on the brakes here? De Jong already looking to try to go that tighter inside line behind Brown, but Brown cannot do it through the outside, looking for potential overtake on the exit. A little bit of a scrape on the rear bumper of Espinera there, and John Brown will just have to hold at bay in 5th position overall, but he has got Ronald de Jong still breathing all down his neck behind as we come through the chicane. John Brown still chasing down with this one as we head up towards the drop down of Casanova into Savelli here, 6 and 7. With John Brown chasing down Luciano Espinera, it could still potentially change in the mix of classes up towards the front there. A man who's not had any airtime really at the moment is the man leading the Pro-Am field. Craig Walters is currently running around in 1st in class. He took a race victory back at Summit Point, race number 1. Could he take class victory again here in the 007 machine? Looking for win number 2 on the board in class for him. He is currently in contention with that, as Olsen Leah is in contention with taking the championship lead ahead of Torben Mayle, who's all the way down in 23rd position right now. That is a huge gap between the 2 drivers that are tied on points. It's a bit of a slide from Olsen Leah into turn number 15, but he does hold on to it. And right now, holding on to a top 10 position. This will start in 6th position in race number 2 as well, if it finishes this way. Back up to this fight for 4th overall. That is, I believe, no, that was Aaron Matthews backing out along the straight there. He is the driver that is a lap down and just letting those ahead pull away and pass without getting involved. But this is the fight for fourth, with Espinera leading Brown at the moment as we look on the rear of Luciano Espinera here, and you can see the trainer drivers behind that rearview mirror is absolutely full at the moment as we come through turn number 4 and 5 and up towards Casanova they go. And as it stands, they just have to remain in line for the time being. There will be an opportunity, I'm sure, up towards turn number 1, and if you can get it side by side and hold it, you can normally get yourself in and ahead. And that is what John Brown's going to be thinking here. Yes, they're in different classes, but he knows there is an opportunity here for him to take 4th position in this race and get some more points on the board. Again, points going the way of their overall race results, not their class race results. Torban Mail holds on to 3rd in class right now, but it is not easily held ahead of Ben Gibbons. Only a couple of seconds between them as Aaron Matthews pulled over to the side, going into turn number 10 to get completely out of the way of those that chased him down, and into the final turn we go for Luciano Espinera, who is still holding on to this position. Those are your 3 leaders at the moment. And this was Aaron Matthews. And as you can see, he slowed right down to allow drivers to go past. In fact, he came to a stop there, complete stop, to allow everyone to go past and not get in the way of any of them. Matthews having to visit pit lane early doors because of the penalty, of course, that was given to him. This is side by side between Dek Crowther and Demis Titcheler. Titcheler's to the inside, Crowther to the outside. It's a battle for 17th overall. 2 different classes here, but Crowther cannot hold it around the outside. Is he going to get the nose in for turn number 2? Yes, he is. He is going to just get his nose in there. Backs out of it, tries to now get the run on the exit on Titcheler. That Talancha can be a bit harder to get through the corners, but at the moment, Titcheler just placing it ahead of Dek Crowther and holding on to it. Demis Titcheler, of course, leading the Pro-Am Championship. Really needs all the points he can get, and at the moment, 17th position. He's 2 positions away from the inverted grid, and that is your invert pole. Fraser Garrity just a couple of places ahead right now as Crowther pushing Titcheler around, as it looks like Daniel Lewis has been able to dispatch Kim Borkland here. This is how he was able to do that. It looks like a mistake potentially from Borkland. It looks like maybe a slowdown with the way that Borkland pulled out of the way there. I think that was a slowdown, but as we go live, Daniel Lewis has now fallen down the order. As Lewis then has issues. What's happened to Lewis? Is it a slowdown for Lewis, or he's on the wider line here? Was there contact perhaps as Borkland went to try and get the position? It was contact, but it's because Lewis had a bit of a slide. He was stuck on the outside, and he is down to 9th now. That gives Ronald de Jong a bit of breathing room. He knows he can hold on to a podium in class now, and his focus will entirely be on trying to get past John Brown ahead. We head up towards lap number 9 here. Just a couple more on the board with 3.5 minutes left to go as Arthur Thurtle. The gap between himself and Adam Delmont was up at 1.1 second earlier in the race. He has pulled it back down again to about 0.8 of a second here, but he is going to need to put in a great set of laps to catch up and overtake Adam Delmont here. Of course, he is the fastest man out there, but only by about 0.02 of a second quicker than Adam Delmont on his overall lap. Last lap, however, Delmont was 0.4 of a second slower, and that gap continuing to get smaller here. Has there been some issues for Adam Delmont at the front, maybe? As there is a swap around with Paul Hurley getting past Kev Aylett. So Aylett has had some issue because Kev Aylett was up in 16th position. He's down to 20th here. He's wide onto the gravel. And then he's got to slow down. That's why he pulls over, goes really slow there. Make sure you are serving the slowdown, and he gets out of the way as well which would have just picked him up an additional slowdown. Of course, slowdowns must be served off of the racing line, out of the way, not a hindrance to any other drivers. Sakevele proving how to do that. We saw that from Mail earlier as well, of course. Not from Mail, from Borkland earlier as well. So it is something our drivers know that they need to do. Of course, penalties introduced this season, and there were a number of penalties once again handed out at VIR. And that slowdown is one that is continuously being on drivers' minds, so they do know. You get a slowdown, you pull off the circuit, you pull to the side of the circuit, serve your slowdown, and filter back in as safely as possible. Back up to the front here. We've got 2 laps to go in this one. And Arthur Thurdle has managed to close the gap down now to half a second last lap. Once again, Thurdle 0.4 of a second quicker than Delmont. Has Delmont here worn his tyres down to a point in which he's just unable to find the time in comparison to Thurdle? Of course, 2 separate cars between them, the Honda versus the Hyundai here. And it is looking smoother for Thurdle through those chicanes, that's for certain. How's he going to go through the second half of this lap here? Can he close it to the back of Delmont? Because if he can get within 0.3 of a second up towards along the pitch straight towards turn number 1, he has a real opportunity to snatch race victory from Adam Delmont here. Delmont, who has led from pole position, first pole position of the season, of course, for Adam Delmont here at round number 6. Can he go for his 6th race victory, or is Arthur Thurdle going to take his 2nd? Different lines entering there. Delmont deeper on the entrance, Thurdle heavier on the brakes, but the gap has reopened once more. 0.8 of a second between the 2 of them. We go back to Stuart Gibbons here, who's trying to get past Daniel Lewis in a fight for 9th position. They have got past the amateur leader of Vigard Olsen Leah. Leah now in 1st. Thomas Kuhn, crucially, he runs in 2nd, but he is going to be in the invert here. Which is going to really help him out in looking for his 3rd race victory. But that's the checkered. That's the checkered flag. It came out earlier than I was expecting. Adam Delmont takes the win. That gap did open up ahead of Thurdle. Downing takes home 3rd here. It looks like drivers are trying to just have one last drag to the end. But the gap's just a little bit too large across the line here. But Adam Delmont wins the overall race. Daniel Downing winning semi-pros. Craig Walters takes the win in the Pro-Ams. And Vigard Olsen Leah wins the amateur field there. We will get your full race results for you now as we have a little look at that one. That one coming down a lap earlier than expected. At the end of that, we were expecting 11 laps of asking. It came down to 10 laps with the checker coming out just towards the end there. We didn't even get the white flag. That's how close it was for us there. Right then, let's have a little look at our race results. And from pole position, Adam Delmont is the first man this season to convert a pole position into a race 1 victory. Adam Delmont takes what is a 5th overall victory, a 6th class victory of the season. Arthur Thurdle comes home close behind in 2nd, and Daniel Downing takes home the win in the semi-pros. It'll be what will be his 4th win of the season in class for him as well. Then we had Luciano Espinera coming home in 4th position overall, ahead of John Brown and Ronald de Jong rounding out your semi-pro podium. You then had Kim Borkland in 7th, and your Pro-Am winner was Craig Walters. It's the 2nd victory of the season for Craig Walters, finishing ahead of Daniel Lewis. Stuart Gibbons took 2nd in class in the end. Vigard Olsen Leah, for the third time this season, took home race victory in the amateur field and is the first of the amateurs to take home more than 2 race victories this season. Carl Hardy came home in 12th position overall, ahead of Thomas Coombe, who came home second in class. JB Dejay rounding out the podium in your Pro-Am field. It was then Fraser Garrity in 15th, ahead of Demis Titchler. Dec Crowther took home 17th, ahead of Kevin Marshall-Say and Paul Hurley. And Kev Aylett rounded out your top 20. Fraser Garrity, of course, will start race number 2 from pole position. Lucas Henschel came home in 21st, ahead of Alan McCain. Torben Mayle took home your final podium position in your amateur field, ahead of Ben Gibbons. Chris London, with issues needing to repair his car, came home in 25th. And Aaron Matthews, after being forced into a jump start on the opening lap, at the start of the race, and having to serve a couple of penalties in that one, he came home a lap down in 26th. And after having the jump start that caused Aaron Matthews' jump start, Dan Mould retired from the race on the opening lap of this one. We'll be hoping to see him in race number 2. That is for sure. Now then, we are going to see if we can catch a word with one of our drivers after that one, because it was a strong result for a number of them. That is for sure, but we will have a quick word, if we can, with Arthur Thurtle, who managed to come home in that one, running around in second position after a good result. Arthur, if you can hear us there, you had a great race there trying to catch up to Delmont. You didn't quite have the speed. How was that race for you?
It was good. Delmont's very quick. That Honda was just quick at the chicane, 2/3 of the way around the track, and that was where I was losing the time. If it wasn't for that, if that chicane didn't exist, I'd have had him.
So with that being said then, it does mean race number 2, you are going to be starting ahead of him, but down in 14th position. Do you feel like you're going to be able to make your way through the field? Do you think it's a bit harder to overtake? How's your thoughts?
I think I'll be able to make my way through the field because there's the pit straight's very long and the velocity's quick, but I think if Delmont gets in front of me, I'm going to struggle to get back past him, but we'll see. I'll give it my best shot.
Of course, the last time you were able to take victory was a little bit of a while ago now, back at round 2 in Motegi. It's been a little bit of a while. Were you a little bit frustrated in race number 1 you weren't able to get there? Do you feel like the points are on your side? What was it like?
No, I wasn't frustrated. Second was fair enough. I was frustrated last week because I didn't do an interview last week, didn't I? But in race 1, when I was in the lead, on going down the back straight, my car missed a shift. The shift had failed on me. And that was how Delmont got past me. Otherwise, I think I could have won that one. But it is what it is. Consistency is more important than getting wins. You're better off having 5 seconds than you are like 2 wins.
That is certainly true, and with that we will have the drop week supplied shortly as well. It will close that championship fight in once more, so hopefully you can fight your way towards the front. But good luck with race number 2. You've got a little bit of work to do.
Yep, thank you very much.
Arthur Thurtle there, coming home in second position in race number 1. And with that being said, we are going to prepare for race number 2 with this one. And it is going to be a great one yet again. If you are new around here and you have not seen one of these wonderful events, then first of all, what are you waiting for? And make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're over watching on the SRLTV's YouTube channel, or if you're watching on the Joseph Wright Broadcasting Twitch page, make sure you hit the follow button over there. The way this event works, of course, we are about to head into the second race of the day. That's going to be 25 minutes of racing action. It is going to be set by your results from race number 1 with a bit of a twist. Your top 15. Well, they're going to be flipped on its head, which means Fraser Garrity is going to be starting from the first position spot on the grid, and it does mean our race 1 winner Adam Delmont is going to be starting from P number 2, but that does not mean he can't work his way back through. We think back to Summit Point. Delmont was able to win race number 1. He came home second overall in race number 2, but he did come home, of course, winning the pro field in that one. That being said, Summit Point, race number 2, is the only time this season in which drivers have been able to, well, a driver other than a pro class has been able to take the overall race victory. Stephen Fry at the semi-pro field took home the overall race victory in that one. It's the only time it's happened so far this season. We have opportunity for it again today. Kim Borkland is your highest pro driver on the grid. He will start in P number 9. Let's just have a look at where the rest of your field is going to start this one. It is going to be Fraser Garrity from pole position, as we've said so many times before. JB Deshay is going to be starting in second position alongside him. Thomas Coombe, great advantage for the amateur field, will be starting in third ahead of Carl Hardy, the highest of the semi-pro starters. Vegard Olsen-Leah, the race 1 class winner in the amateur field, will start directly behind Thomas Coombe in 5th. And Stuart Gibbons will start this one in 6th position. 7th will go the way of Daniel Lewis ahead of Craig Walters. Kim Borkland, the highest of your pros, will start in 9th ahead of Ronald de Jong. John Brown and Luciano Espinera then start behind. It's Daniel Downing, Arthur Thurtle and Adam Delmont. 13th, 14th, 15th. They were your overall race 1 podium. Demis Titchler, the first of those to miss out on the invert, will start in 16th ahead of Dec Crowther and Kevin Marshallsay. 19th will go the way of Paul Hurley on this grid, ahead of Kev Aylett. Lucas Henschel will start in 21st, ahead of Alan McCain. Torben Mayer will start in 23rd, ahead of Ben Gibbons in 24th position. Chris London will start in 25th, ahead of Aaron Matthews. And Dan Mould will start from 27th position, and we'll hope this time he does not jump the start or cause any issues for those ahead of him. Right then, it is going to be 25 minutes on the board for this race as we look ahead down towards turn number 1. Our drivers will be waiting for those lights to go up and then to drop. Race number 1 flew by with how long this circuit is, about 2 minutes a lap. It really does tick down extremely quickly. That being said, we are about to go green here. 25 minutes on the board, and once again, it is a jump at the back there. I'm not sure who that was this time, though. We come up towards turn number 1. It is a launch for Garrity and JB Deshay. It is Deshay on the outside here. Deshay has not had a strong season, constantly caught up in issues, but he's going to try and take the lead on the outside. It's side by side behind as well, and it is going to be the lead for JB Deshay as we were 4 wide for a moment through turn number 1. It goes 3 wide. That is contact. And into the wall there is going to be Ronald de Jong. As we get going again, these inverted fields always cause a little bit of movement as drivers try to find their way up the field as early as they can. It does cause incidents to happen. And it does mean that Ronald de Jong has ended up into the walls. Chris London also with issues as well. Both of those will have to come down pit lane as it was side-by-side fighting here between Lucas Henschel and Kev Aylett. Henschel to the inside of Aylett as they go up through turn number 8. A little bit of gravel there being kicked up by Aylett. He's on that wider line, and here comes Alan McCain to make it 3 wide, and Alan McCain sees the fighting ahead of him and says, you know what, I'll have a piece of that, and he takes both of them, Aylett and Henschel, down 2 positions, well, down a position each there, and that was McCain up positions. Vegard Olsen-Leah, race 1 amateur winner, has gone around on the opening lap of asking, down now to 4th in class. Thomas Coombe holds on in his amateur in 5th overall. But on the opening lap of asking, JB Deshay started 2nd in this one, has moved in to the race lead as we come through the final turn to go across the line. It is a lead for JB Deshay right now. Vigard Olsen Leah gets around the outside of Kev Eilert to try and hold on to what will now be 22nd overall. Eilert also having issues early doors as well and trying to get back into this one as we come across the line at the end of lap number 1. Arthur Thurtle and Adam Delmont. They are working their way through the field here now. Thurtle said he needs to keep Delmont behind, but Delmont's got to the inside at turn number 1. Thurtle keeps his nose in though. He wants to stay ahead of Delmont. He knows it's going to be a challenge to make his way past. He can't do it, and here comes John Brown to invite himself into the mix as well. And John Brown now side by side with Arthur Thurtle. Thurtle's got the inside. It will swap around to Brown's inside though, and Thurtle has to keep the door open and allow him to have that racing room on the inside. We go up towards Casanova of 6 now, and there's going to be contact between Brown and Thurtle. Thurtle keeps it going the right way though, and in comes Daniel Downing. Downing gets past Thurtle as well, and Thurtle is down to 13th now. Adam Delmont, look how much time he's gained over those. As that's Stuart Gibbons looking to the inside at JB Deshay for the race lead. Deshay, it swaps to his inside now, but that could be a slowdown with the way that he just ran over that chicane. He holds on to the left here. He's not yet given up the racing time, but he is staying on a very wide line there. I think that's Deshay giving up time there for cutting the corner. It certainly is. And Fraser Garrity moves into second. Stuart Gibbons now leading the way here. We will jump and have a look at some of the opening lap issues, but right now it is still fights as that's Borkland to the inside through the final turn there. It went to the inside of Walters. Delmont now trying to get to the inside of Walters as well. And Deshay is looking to fight back at Fraser Garrity. He's got Carl Hardy and Thomas Kuhn behind. Kuhn still doing a great job to keep that amateur car up there. Olsen Leah recovers to a podium. He sits in third. Ben Gibbons drops to 5th in class right now. Side by side into turn number 1. Deshay on the outside of Garrity. The outside line doesn't always work here, but Deshay managed to make it work on the opening lap, could make it work here as well, and Deshay gets around the outside of Stuart Gibbons, of Fraser Garrity, and moves into second in the hunt now of Stuart Gibbons behind Adam Delmont. Almost goes 3 wide with Walters and Espinera. Is Walters going to try and get back up the inside of Delmont here? Yes, he certainly is. It's going to go the way of Delmont though, and that's Espinera to the inside of Walters. A little bit of a nudge there as Walters tried to close the door, but Espinera was there. John Brown chasing behind, looking to see if he can make his way through. That was Thurtle getting past Daniel Downing behind Espinera. Forced onto the wider line here, but he'll turn to the inside. Another little bit of a nudge there with Craig Walters. Can Espinera hold on to it? He certainly can, and through he goes as Arthur Thurtle under attack once more from Daniel Downing. That was John Brown getting past Craig Walters just up ahead as well, but this is now Daniel Downing looking to try and make the move past Thurtle. He backs out of it. Thurtle holds on to that position just up ahead. It is 2 by 2 with Kim Borkland getting past Thomas Coombe. Adam Delmont looking to get past Thomas Coombe as well. Daniel Lewis potentially following him through. How hard is Coombe going to fight here? He can get a good top 10 result with second position in class being down in 18th position, but we come through turn number 12 right now, and it is all settled down, single file for the time being. Right then, let's have a little bit of a look on the opening lap whilst we have a breather. This was De Jong. It was contact with Espinera that sent him into the wall. That was Gibbons onto the gravel contact with another driver. De Jong then had a further issue at the next turn as his car was unable to make the turn. Vigard Olsen Leah. This was the spin, and was it Espinera again? Because Espinera spun De Jong, and it was another spin by Espinera. We won't judge it up here in the commentary booth, but somehow not collected by anyone in that accident. Issues for Dan Mould, opening lap of the race. Some black flags for him, but we won't be able to have a look at those, and we'll see if we can get back to our live pictures. There we go. But yeah, Espinera involved in a couple of incidents there. Of course, we can see him just very quickly in our replay angles, but we certainly can't make any judgments. We'll leave those to the racing stewards. This is Arthur Thurtle to the inside of John Brown to try and move up into a top 10 position. He is able to do that, and John Brown will have to drop behind and wait for just a moment. This is Adam Delmont. He sits behind Kim Borkland right now. Kim Borkland leading your pro field. It's Stuart Gibbons still leading the overall race here as Garrity looking to try and get to the outside of Deshea. Deshea has that inside line, and Hardy comes from nowhere as Delmont gets Borkland as well. But there's contact between Delmont and Borkland. More contact! And that's going to be somehow Delmont facing the right way. Borkland into the gravel. But who was at fault for the original bit of contact there? Delmont's got Espinera to his inside. Espinera hunting down potentially a second back-to-back race 2 victory in class here. But Delmont holds on to it there. What happened there in that contact? It was Delmont to the inside. Oh, do you know what? Borkland is as far left as he can possibly be. And unfortunately for him, he is the one that is shoved onto the gravel. Again, we'll make our comments up here in the booth. It is by no means a judgment on the race as itself, as Aaron Matthews has had some issues and finds himself running slowly around out there again. Okay, back to these fights. And it is Adam Delmont to the outside of Thomas Coombe. Espinera, where's he going to go? As that was JB Deshea and Carl Hardy side by side up ahead as Deshea tries to hold up the inside. Espinera follows Delmont through. Coombe falls it behind, and now it's going to be side by side with Thurtle. And Thurtle back into third position in class right now, looking to hunt down Espinera and Delmont up ahead. As this is the leading, this is the fight up to second position. Stuart Gibbons has broken free. He's 3 seconds away now. Is this an opportunity once more for someone other than a pro to win? And will it be for the first time a Pro-Am driver taking race victory? We've seen a semi-pro of Stephen Fry take victory overall. Will we see the Pro-Am driver of Stuart Gibbons potentially take overall race victory? We're 10 minutes into this. 15 minutes left on the board at the moment as Delmont is all over the rear of Fraser Garrity and trying to chase down behind. We have a little look behind here towards that next gen racing green, and Delmont goes straight to the inside. No second invitation needed. Delmont was going to make that move, and he gets past Fraser Garrity, who now drops down to 5th overall, and that is a car between Delmont and the rest of the pro field at the moment. What is Delmont going to do potentially? Up into the final turn. He'd look for another late move to the inside of Deshea. It is a bit too fast of a corner to be able to do that one, but he is looking to try and make that overtake. You can see he's already moved to the left of the track here. Deshea is looking to work potentially with Hardy, and no, he doesn't. He moves to the left. Deshea wants this position on Hardy. Delmont is watching this and thinking, where do I go? Where do I place my car? I'm going to go for the outside here. I'm going to hold that outside line as Thurtle tries to do the same behind. He's side by side with Espinera. Deshea on the outside of Hardy. Hardy's going to open the door there for Delmont. It will swap back away though, and Hardy will be able to hold on to third position for now, and that's going to invite Fraser Garrity back into this fight perhaps. Delmont will have the inside line, do the next turn. Through he goes, and Garrity is now running side by side with Carl Hardy. Hardy leading this semi-pro field right now, but they are going to be side by side, and Hardy is getting pushed by Thurtle as they go through Casanova into Savelli. And that's Thurtle backing behind Garrity once again, potentially in a fight there as that's Adam Delmont running slowly. What's happened to Delmont here as Thomas Coombe has just gone around? What's happened to Delmont here? And then we'll have a look at what happened to Coombe. It looked like a slowdown for Delmont, and this was Coombe behind. Contact with Daniel Lewis, and he just gets shoved down. He hasn't gone around, but he just gets shoved down the order there. He's down to 15th now. This is invited potentially Olsen Leah back into this fight, but Olsen Leah currently fighting for second with his teammate Torburn Mayer. They headed into this one tied on points. Race number 1 though went severely, heavily in Leah's direction. But it means that May will be wanting to try and make that overtake and get that move through, but right now he can't do it. As we head out to the final turn, it is JB Dejay leading what is a field that goes all the way down to 16th position. He runs around in second right now. We say goodbye in this race once again to Dan Mould and Chris London now out of this race as well. We head up towards turn number 1. This is not the race lead. Remember, the race lead is this man, Stuart Gibbons. 12 minutes left in this race. He is almost 5 seconds in the clear as this is Turtle trying to get past Fraser Garrity, and now Espinera trying to follow through and get involved in this one as well. But Garrity is not giving up the fight with Turtle yet. Looks the inside, it will swap back the way of Turtle, and Turtle will hold on to 5th position. Garrity down to 6th, he holds 3rd in class right now, but Gibbons and Dejay running 1st and 2nd in this race. Adam Delmont is running 3rd overall and looking to get past JB Dejay to try and potentially catch up to Stuart Gibbons. That was a look up the inside of Turtle there from Fraser Garrity, but it wasn't going to turn out to be anything at the moment as we continue to watch this midfield run, the front field run around. Dejay there having to go defensive from Delmont, but Delmont will have the inside. Hardy's going to look and try and take advantage of that one. There's a little bit of a knock there, but Dejay holds the car to the inside as he wants to try and hold on to 2nd, as Turtle looks to the inside, a late dive there. No contact, keeps it clean. Dejay just gets his nose into the inside of Delmont, but Delmont had that position. And Adam Delmont moves into 2nd position now. 6 seconds. He has got to fight to Stuart Gibbons. JB Dejay holds on to 3rd ahead of Carl Hardy. Espinera does a big old wobble there to try to go to the inside, then the outside of Fraser Garrity. Carl Hardy, JB Dejay swap positions into the final turn. And here comes Arthur Thirdle. A little bit of gravel there being kicked up by Dejay. We come across the timing line and Adam Delmont is going to be on a charge for the race lead. It's almost 3 wide behind in the fight for 2nd position. There was a little bit of grass being kicked up as we head up towards the timing line in this battle. Almost 4 wide there. We go into turn number 1. It's 2 by 2 with Carl Hardy ahead. Thirdle on the outside of Espinera. Garrity still involved in this one just behind. JB Dejay now are wide as well. And after holding on to a podium for a very long time, JB Dejay finds his way off the circuit here and absolutely falling down the order, showing how close it is out there, that one mistake can just throw you down over 10 positions in this race for Dejay. A real shame for him, but he does hold on to what will be 6th position in class. We continue through. Down 6 and 7 of Casanova and Savelli. And for the most part now, drivers have settled themselves down single file in the back end of this course as we have got 10 minutes left on the board right now. A lot of gravel being kicked up into the air as drivers just trying to find any time that they possibly can. Espinera here looking to try and take 2nd in this class, the pro class, of course, behind Arthur Thirdle. He took a winning class last week. It was an overall victory for him as well. It's the 2 SRL team mates behind. Different team brandings, of course. You've got SRL Green of John Brown, SRL Blue there of Fraser Garrity running just ahead of him. But this whole train of drivers right now still very close with those small mistakes. Thirdle running slightly wider there through the final corner is going to open the opportunity up to Espinera here, and they are going to run side by side up towards turn number 1. He drops back behind though to get the toe here. He wants that bit of extra slipstream. There's a little bit of a nudge and a big old wobble for Espinera across the timing line. Which way is he going to go though? He's going to go for the wider line here, but tucks in. As Thirdle looked to the run his normal line, he got really close to the back end of Hardy there, and you could tell he had to hit his brakes mid-corner. The whole car just getting a little bit of unstable mid-corner there. Thirdle all over the rear of Carl Hardy as Adam Delmont goes purple last lap. He is looking to close that gap down to Gibbons. It's down to 5 seconds right now. Gibbons does still have the advantage in hand. It might not be enough laps for Adam Delmont. Thirdle looks to the inside of Hardy. As we go down, Casanova, it is going to be position on the way of Arthur Thirdle, who moves his way into third position overall. Hardy just keeps Espinera behind, and Espinera now could be under attack from Fraser Garrity. Garrity gets to the inside, a little bit of gravel from Carl Hardy there, and we come through turn number 9 of Aribata 2. More gravel being kicked up now as drivers try to decide which way they should go. As Espinera reaches incident limit, Espinera is going to have to come down pit lane in a strong fight there in the pro field. Luciano Espinera pushes it one too many times and will have to take his Hyundai Veloster down pit lane, and on a circuit that is so fast and a pit lane that is so long, Luciano Espinera is very likely to fall behind Ben Gibbons, who currently runs 4th in class in the amateurs and 21st overalls. And there goes Luciano Espinera diving into pit lane, meaning all the other drivers will move their way up. Adam Delmont now down to 4 seconds to Stuart Gibbons. As we head up towards turn number 1, we watch Daniel Downing to the outside of Borkland there in a slightly different racing line. Attempt through turn number 1. It didn't turn into anything for him there. And into turn number 2 of Luco. And into Poggio Secco there. And again, just that gravel constantly being kicked up here. Drivers now being fully aware if they're reaching those incident limit counts, because with us saying goodbye to Espinera, who, as I said, has fallen behind Ben Gibbons and returns to track in 21st position. It's almost like I know what I'm talking about sometimes. Right, Borkland gets up the inside of John Brown. Brown doesn't fight that one too hard, and will fall down to 7th position, just ahead of Daniel Downing. Brown 2nd in the semi-pro class. Downing in 3rd. It is definitely a slowdown. I thought it might have been when they were coming down turn at number 6. With the way Brown was giving up that time, but he just pulled over to the side. It continues to be fighting between them, but it was a slowdown for John Brown. Right, this is the fight for 2nd in the amateur field. Torburn Mail chases down teammate Vigard Olsen Leah winning in class in race number 1. It looks like that feat is going to go to Thomas Kuhn for the 3rd time this season and the 1st time since round number 2. But who is going to come ahead out of these two teammates, because they are fighting for a championship, tied on points heading into this week. Leah got a strong result in race number 1 that will be helping him out, but Torben Mail still chasing down. They are just behind Kevin Marshall, say, in 14th position, and they have Lucas Henschel just behind as well. So a couple of classes involved in this one. They've got the Pro-Am ahead and behind, so they will also be thinking about that. Right, Carl Hardy and Fraser Garrity are going side by side up towards turn number 1 here. It is going to be the inside line for Carl Hardy, but this is going to be Kim Borkland, who decides to go inside and move up into 3rd position there, and that is Daniel Downing in SRL Purple trying to get involved in this one, but Kim Borkland taking full advantage of the fighting going on ahead and makes that move. Garrity onto the gravel just a little bit there, as he is still side by side with Downing. Downing on the outside. Garrity will swap around now to be on the outside. Up towards turn number 6 of Casanova. They run side by side. Into turn 6. Into turn 7. They run still side by side. It looks like it's going to come the way of Daniel Downing though, and it certainly does. Downing will come out on top for now, ahead of Fraser Garrity. 3.5 minutes left on the clock here, as that's onto the gravel from Garrity there. John Brown's going to see it and think, I could take an opportunity here. All of these drivers, these 3 drivers, of course, running under the SRL banner, but all of them in different outfits within the SRL banner. We've got the purple leading the blue, leading the green. You see another blue there of Craig Walters behind Deck Crowther. A slightly wider entrance there from Garrity allows John Brown to just nip up the inside, but not enough speed to hold on that inside line, of course. Espinera gets past Ben Gibbons as Gibbons' day continues to go a little bit haywire around the Mugello circuit. It is a difficult circuit, fast and flowing, and Gibbons running around 4th in class, though. It is still going to be some points for him over his championship rivals. Lucas Henschel coming up now in a fight. This is fight that includes the amateur drivers, but he is trying to keep Alan McCain behind. McCain gets to his inside through the final turn, and Henschel loses position, and that is class position as well for 7th and 8th in class. Could this be a potential opportunity for Torbjörn Mail? 3 seconds between Adam Delmont and Stuart Gibbons, potentially with one more lap on the board after this one, which should mean that Delmont needs to close up 1.5 seconds in both of the next 2 laps. Right, Torbjörn Mail is looking to try and push Olsen Leah past Marshall Say there. In fact, it puts Olsen Leah on the wider line. It could invite Mail into fight here in what is a 6-car fight at the mid part of this field, led by Paul Hurley. Sorry, I should say led by Kevin Marshall, say, in the Lumen Motorsport car. And on the outside there, contact with Olsen Leah. Olsen Leah's going to try and keep it on the inside, and more Mail is going to make it 3 wide up to turn 6. This surely is not going to be pretty. They settle it down into into 2x2. Olsen Leah comes out ahead, but Torbjörn Mail drops down the field like a rock there after trying to make it 3 wide into turn 6. Kev Aylett gets past Henschel as we come up towards what will be the white flag lap here. Adam Delmont 2.5 seconds behind. This man here, Stuart Gibbons of Blade Design, the number 47 machine, is on with a chance of taking not only a 2nd class win this season, but a 1st overall race victory here, and maximum points out of this one. Side by side between McCain and Marshall Say. McCain will have the outside into the final turn. Marshall Say will hold that inside line here. It will go the way of Marshall Say. McCain will be looking to try and get the speed on the exit if possible. Marshall Say will hold on to it. Olsen Leah now has a nice advantage out front. Hardy gets ahead of Downing, but runs deep into turn 1. So Downing regains 5th position. This is for the fight for 1st position in the semi-pro field. It is a fight that Daniel Downing is going to want to come out on top here. It'll be a 5th win this season for Daniel Downing in class, and it will really re-invite his championship contention, falling down after some poor weekends. Kyle Hardy just can't keep him at bay there. Will fall behind, possibly into the clutches of Fraser Geraghty. The lead gap down to 1.8 seconds, but it's not going to be enough here as we go back to Alan McCain, because he's gone off the circuit, and it is side by side with Kev Aylett slightly wide there. Kevin Marshall goes around. Lucas Henschel goes around as Kevin Marshall tries to hold on ahead of Kev Aylett, and that'll be Lucas Henschel with a black flag on the final lap of the race, and that's going to be contact with Alan McCain, who also gets a black flag in that one. Huge contact on the last lap of asking here. McCain and Henschel, both of them, are going to be penalised on the last lap of asking. Kev Aylett holds on to the outside of Kevin Marshall. It's side by side. They're not fighting for class position. They're fighting for overall position. Aylett trying to hold on to the semi-pro championship lead. Still runs side by side with Marshall. Espinera here, trying to gain anything he can at the end. Looking to get his way back through. But out the front, Stuart Gibbons takes overall race victory. Adam Delmont takes his 7th class victory of the season, and Arthur Thirdle rounds out the overall podium. Daniel Downing will cross the line as a semi-pro race winner. And Thomas Coombe will win for the 3rd time in class. But Kev Aylett touches the rear end of Marshall trying to find speed on the exit of the final corner. But here comes Espinera. Espinera wants the overall position. He wants the points. After a strong start to the race, it was a bad end to the race, and he doesn't get that position. Torbjörn Mail comes home 3rd in class in the end. with Ben Gibbons somehow coming home 4th in class, just behind Torburn Mayo, just 2 seconds back in the end. Black flags for the drivers. Let's have a look at that last lap mayhem in that fight. That was the contact. It was contact from Mayo that sent Henschel around. That gave Mayo, that gave Henschel the black flag as well. This was McCain. It was a little bit of contact on the rear end from... Oh, do you know what? Mayo there did not have the best of runs, did he? We're going to have to run that on board with Mayo here. The final lap of asking. This was Torburn Mayo. Looks to the inside. He moves right to the right. There was no contact from behind. He just cut... Was there contact from McCain? We'll have to ride on board McCain. That could be potentially what caused that secondary contact there. We're going to have to ride it on board with McCain here. No. It was just a complete turn across there from Mayo that took Henschel out. There was no contact from behind there. This contact, I think, was more accidental. And then the secondary impact certainly was unintentional. But that first contact with Henschel is going to be discussed, I'm sure, after this one. But this is Stuart Gibbons. He wins the race here. And what a race victory it was for Stuart Gibbons. Managed to come from 3rd on the grid to take overall race victory. Excellent job from Stuart Gibbons. Let's get your full race results then, and then we'll have a couple of interviews after this second race of the day. Stuart Gibbons, your Pro-Am winner, but also your overall race winner. It's the second time this season someone other than a pro driver has taken overall race victory. It's the first time a pro driver has done that. Adam Delmont takes another double class victory. He did it at Summer Point. He does it here at Mugello. And once again, he takes the double class victory by taking 2nd overall in race number 2. Arthur Thurston rounding out your podium ahead of Kim Borkland. Daniel Downing took the double in the semi-pro class as well to take his 4th win of the his 5th win of the season, I should say, ahead of Carl Hardy. Fraser Garrity came home 2nd in class, and John Brown rounded out your semi-pro podium. Deck Crowther came home in 9th, and it was Craig Walters rounding out your Pro-Am podium. 11th position went the way of Demis Titchler, and for the first time since Motegi at round number 2, Thomas Coombe took class victory in the amateur field, a 3rd class victory of the season. And the first time this season, actually, that Thomas Coombe would have won a race without being promoted to it due to other drivers being moved up into another class. Paul Hurley came home 13th in the end. Figard Olsen-Lear came home 2nd in class ahead of Kevin Marshall-Say. Kev Aylett came home 16th out of Luciano Espinera, and Torburn Mayo somehow just managed to hold on to a podium place in the amateur field. Ben Gibbons came home 19th ahead of Daniel Lewis in 20th position. JB Dejay came home in 21st. Alan McCain in 22nd ahead of Ronald de Jong, and Lucas Henschel, the last driver on the lead lap, 24th position. Aaron Matthews finished 2 laps down, and out of the race early doors was Chris London and once again Dan Mould. Right then, that was your race results from that one. Let us have a look to see if we have some drivers to talk to, and I'm sure we do after that one, because it was an interesting one to say the least. And I think our first driver that we will try to pull across into the board here, if I see him. Oh, it doesn't look like he is here, which is a real shame. I was hoping that we could have potentially had a word with Stuart Gibbons. Oh, no, it looks like he is here. Yes, we do have him. Perfect. We do have Gibbons in this one, which is exactly who I want to talk to, because it was this man who managed to find some great pace out there. And a great result for you there. What a race out on race number 2.
Yeah, I didn't even know I was being pulled in there.
Apologies, I just grab and pull. I do apologise.
I've heard that about you.
So yeah, a great run for you in race number 2 then, and you managed to keep it ahead of the rest of the field and come home with a class victory, an overall victory. I mean, that inverted grid seemed to help you out a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I was saying to Adam, I think one more lap and he would have been past me. So I managed to dig out enough of a lead so that, you know, once the fast guys came through, at least I stood some kind of chance of at least getting some kind of finish. So to get a win, I'm absolutely blown away, gobsmacked.
Of course, it is a
Just a
second
bit.
win. It's a second win for you in class. It's an overall race victory. It's only the second time this season a non-pro driver has taken an overall victory. It's the first time a pro-am has managed to do it. As you said, Delmont had some good pace behind you, but you did manage to pull the pace out in front. That's going to really help your championship standings out of this weekend. So how are you feeling now that you've got, what, 4 more rounds left to... No, yes, 4 more rounds left to go in this one. 2 drop weeks to be applied. It's certainly a great weekend for you.
Yeah, it's nice to actually get one. Some of them haven't been so great, but yeah. So I like Mugello. So to get a result here was really good. I'm really pleased with that. As for the championship, I just turn up. I'm not really that bothered where I finish. But nice to be. No, it's nice to be fighting up there though.
Well, with a race victory under your belt, an overall race victory, that's got to be absolutely great. So looking forward to the rest of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that.
No worries. Well, good luck for the rest of the season. I'm sure we'll talk to you again at some point.
Look forward to it. Thanks very much.
Stuart Gibbons there, coming home overall in race number 2, the race victor. What a great result for him. And then we will have a little bit of a word with the driver who's had less of a strong weekend. Lucas, your first season in the Pro-Am field, it's been a challenge for you. It continues to be a challenge. Of course, the last lap accident there with Torburn Mail. Talk us through it.
No comment. I mean, what could I say? I was just about to turn in. Of course, I'm not on the far right side of the track because like there was space and he just turned into me and then killed Alan right after next turn. So we are gonna have a talk about that, I think.
Wow, let's talk more about the race itself beforehand though, because you had a massive fight on your hand in that midfield part within the Pro-Ams and the amateur classes around you. How are you feeling throughout that race? Because it certainly was an intense fight.
I was fighting intensely, then I just decided to stay back, let Kev by, and see what turns out. Then I made up some places because they were scrambling left and right. Yeah, until the last lap. I was pretty happy with the results, to be honest. I just don't have the pace this year, or maybe I'm trying too hard, I don't know. I want to ride the success of last season, but it's not working. So I'm just trying to find my pace again, get settled into the Pro-Ams, and maybe get some trips on next season.
I think one of the big things you got to remember as well, last season you were in the amateur class, you're up into the Pro-Ams this season, and if you look at where you are in comparison to the AMs, you are doing relatively well in those fights as well. So I think that you've obviously had to step up into the higher class this season, and you're learning with that, but it has been a rocky start, as you said, but lots to learn, lots to look forward to, some great races still coming up as well.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to it, but it's been harsh, and I don't know why, but I'm getting some bumps, bruises left and right from Torbjörn there. So yeah, he's fighting his teammate for the championship. I get that. I don't know if he's mad at me or if he's just trying really hard to finish the season in first place because they are even in points. So I'm not gonna paint like no bad blood or anything. Just it happens a few times too many now, so I have to keep an eye on that. But let's see how it turns out at the end.
All right, thank you so much for talking to us, Lucas, and hopefully you'll continue to find a little bit better luck moving forward and find your way back up the order.
We do. Have a good night, Joseph.
You too. Thank you so much, Lucas. Lucas Henschel there, who came home in the end in race number 2, 24th position. We watched him go around, of course, contact with Turbo Mail, which you talked about there, so we'll see how that plays out for them. Of course, the championship has introduced a penalty format, so there are a number of instances, I'm sure, today that are going to be reviewed off of the back of that one. But what a race and event it has been. As always, it's been wonderful seeing these touring cars down on the circuit. It's always my favourite to see the touring cars heading around. And if you are watching this over on the Joseph White Broadcasting's Twitch page, then make sure you hit that follow button. Touring cars, a big staple on the channel. We see them on Sunday nights as well. The calendar then for the rest of this season. We do apologise for the date error at Catalonia. However, we head to Brands Hatch next time out. A staple on touring cars, the touring car calendar is ultimately the home of touring car racing, especially for the Brits out there racing. So it is going to be fantastic, a fantastic event heading through the Kent countryside, and I cannot wait for it. Of course, we still head to Catalonia the following week, then to Road America in the March 13th, and then after a postponement of the Hungaroring round, we head off to Hungaroring for round number 10 on March 20th. So make sure you come back for that one. Now then, if you want to keep up to date with all of the championships and all of the standings before we go live again next Wednesday, then make sure you head across to the Discord page. I know that we don't have the QR code this week. We will get that back up next week. However, the link is available in the YouTube the YouTube comment. So make sure that you click on that, and we will get the QR code back available on screens for you for next week, as we had a bit of an overhaul going into this week. But from here at Mugello, from here at SRLTV and Joseph White Broadcasting, it has been a fantastic evening of racing. Race number 2, as always, creates a great set of battles, because that inverted grid, you have your pro drivers trying to work your way through your field, and you have all the other inter-class fights as well going on. And as you say, a lot of championship fights now being thought about as we go into the second half of the season. Drop weeks are going to be applied within the next couple of weeks. I think it's at the end of next week drop weeks are going to be applied, so you'll be able to have a look at what the championship is going to be like with those drops applied. That pro championship will close down. It's interesting to see how that is going to affect all the other 3 classes, though, because the other 3 classes are so close together. Drop weeks can literally change the whole order, so it's going to be interesting to see what that is going to look like. But if you haven't already done so, make sure you have hit that subscribe button here on the SRLTV YouTube channel. You've hit the follow button on the twitch.tv/JosephWhiteTV Twitch page. And of course, head over to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@JosephWhiteTV as well. And then you can catch up with all of the race highlights. We'll get this highlights out within the next week, so you can watch all of the best moments from Mugello again before we head out around Brands Hatch. And then make sure you also head across to our website. You can check out our calendar over there, as well as a lot of other information, including hiring us for your broadcasts. And make sure you go and check out all of our socials as well, as we are now active on our YouTube, our Instagram, our Facebook page, and our TikToks. Make sure you go and check out all of those, which are all linked in the Twitch page below, or available over on our website. So make sure you head over there. Thank you so much for watching, though, here on Joseph White TV and the Joseph White Broadcasting and SRL TV, I should say, for round number 6 of the SRL TCR season number 10. We will be back at Brands Hatch next Friday from 9:15 p.m. GMT, so make sure that you don't miss it. So until next time, I hope you have a fantastic evening, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.